Hello, 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 everybody. It is Motivational Monday. This is actually our first Motivational Monday, just tapping in with everybody. So I think today I'm going to focus a little bit on just the importance of implementation. Um, I know there's nobody on the call right now, but I am going to post a what is that called? Replay of it, right? So I'm gonna post a replay so that everybody can just get a taste of what we're gonna be doing on Motivational Mondays. I had to cancel the last few weeks. I've been really sick. I still have a little bit of raspiness in my voice, but today I'm gonna be, excuse me. Today, I'm going to talk about, implementation. I want to talk about team building, right? And branching out, right? It's always important to branch out, right? So I want to start with the importance of implementation, right? So when you don't implement things, right, you can find yourself stuck, right? You can find yourself with a whole bunch of information and you don't know how to use it essentially, right? So when it comes down to just implementation and actually knowing how to implement, right? This is the stepping stone to success, right? This is what gets you there, right? Because I think I think I'm a firm believer of information is power, right? Information is power, but when we talk about implemented information, right? Elon Musk would just be the smartest dude on earth if he didn't implement it, right? He would just be smart. He wouldn't be rich, right? So implementation has a lot to do with why you're at where you're at in your life right now, right? So when we talk about, just finding new ways to, be disciplined or accountable, right? That's important. Like one of the things I've been doing right now, right? I'm just forcing myself to do things, right? Like literally forcing myself. Like sometimes I would like be really shy or I didn't want to go to events or I scared have a lot of calls on my calendar, right? And I just end up canceling them or I forget about them completely, right? So I've been actually literally forcing myself to get out and to speak and to, just do things differently, right? Because I'm a firm believer, right? If it was working, it would be working, right? If it's not working, you got to switch up your approach, right? And I think timely decisions is very important when we talk about implementation, right? You got to know when to shift, right? On my podcast, I like to talk about quitters are the best winners, right? Because quitters know when it's time to move on, when it's time to, when this isn't, this isn't work for me, right? I need to go do something for me or myself, right? So implementation is very important when we talk about success because you have to be able to, create a schedule, right? Put it on automation. You have to be able to find new ways to stay accountable, right? Because you always want to stay fresh, right? When you create routines, right, and you create non-negotiables, all of us have non-negotiables, right? Perfect non-negotiable is like when you get up, you got to take a shower, right? You got to brush your teeth, right? Before you walk out the house, don't be looking right. These are non-negotiables. You got to go to work, right? We got to pay bills. These are non-negotiables, right? So when we add in things like working out as a non-negotiable, when we add in things like eating one piece of fruit a day or fasting one time a week or fasting even one time a month, right? When we talk about you know, putting money away, allocating different funds, right? Being disciplined with your budgeting, right? That those become non-negotiables, right? It becomes easier to implement, right? So I want to challenge everybody today to force yourself to do something that you usually hate to do, right? I'm like I hate doing dishes. I hate doing dishes. I never really do dishes. I love a dishwasher. In my household, I usually take care of a lot of the heavy lifting, so I don't have to do little things like dishes. So, certain things like that. If you hate to do dishes or certain little things like that, just get comfortable with the uncomfortable, right? Because that's gonna help you implement it, right? Next thing I want to talk about is creating a community. A community is like, let me find a great way to put this. Like that'll just like I don't need to say nothing else. A community is essentially it's essentially your backbone, right? Like it's your spine, right? Your community is your protection, your community is your innovation, your community is your support system, right? So when you don't have a community, not only you're going to become limited in anything that you do, but you're also going to become stagnant, right? You're going to become isolated. And isolated hustlers are the worst hustlers, right? I talked about this in my podcast as well. Isolated hustlers are essentially very limited. They are very uh, in a box, right? They just get put in that box, right? No way to branch out, right? So when you have a community and you have a huge community and you have a supporting community, right? Things start to work, right? Especially when it comes to business, right? When we talk about just having a community, you can have any type of product and you could just, pump that out to your community because you know what your community wants, right? So when you know what your community wants, my bad, I'm gonna set headphones off. I'm sweaty. Um, look right for the camera. So when we talk about uh, community, right? You want to be able to, just have a sense of support, right? You want to have people that if you post something and you say, "Hey, I'm dropping my new product," you want to have people that reply, right? Or if you have an event, you want people to come through, right? So, what does a good community look like? A good community looks like a support system. A good community looks like a progressive community, right? We always got people that are worried about the community, the progression of the community, the growth of the community, right? And you gotta have certain type of roles, right? So we're gonna have, people who, if we're talking essentially like a business community, we're gonna have two pools, right? We're gonna have people that are helping us grow the community. We're gonna have the community that is that we're serving, right? So, and your community doesn't just have to be your customers, right? Your community can be your friends who you serviced, or those people that just love your content, right? You're helping people out. Like one person I love to love on Instagram. Her name is it's Real Talk Kim, I think her name is, and she is one of the best public speakers I've seen. Right, I'm thinking about going to one of her seminars when she comes out to my city. But just when we look at the community she has, especially when we talk about social media, right? Social media is a huge pull for your community, right? Everybody's on social media. Everybody's on Instagram. Everybody's on LinkedIn. Everybody's on X. So when we talk about communities, right, you have to know what roles each person in your community holds, right? Me personally, I know if I'm a public speaker, right? I'm gonna be more on the children's side, right? I'm gonna be talking to the youth. I'm gonna be going to high schools. I'm gonna be going to colleges. I'm gonna be speaking. But I also know that there's certain people that I need that are going to speak to the wisdom of the group, right? So and once we figure out designated roles, you can figure out designated goals, right? So when you create your community, right, and everybody is going to have their own community, right, and everybody's going to be part of different communities, right? The bigger your community and the bigger you service, the in turn you're not only going to have bigger revenue, bigger income, but you're also going to have bigger impact, right? Larger volume, right? So that community is all that's all what a community does. A community is going to increase your accessibility. A community is going to increase your growth, your progression. A community is going to progress your income and your goals, right? Your revenue goals, your projected, your ROI, your return on your investment. So, a community is essentially the only way that you can scale a business. A community is essentially the only way you can, be do anything on a larger scale, right? You have to have a community, right? So once then and this kind of ties into creating a community. When you create a community, you want to nurture your community. You want to nurture your team, right? Because your team is part of your community, right? If you are someone who works at a job and it's kind of like more of a family, right? You grew a good relationship with a lot of your coworkers, right? You're good with your boss, right? That is a community. And when you have a team that is a part of a certain type of community, right? And you nurture that, it's called something called retention, right? You want to keep your community as close to you as possible, right? Because essentially, when you are a one-stop shop, right? Say, we all go to grandma when we have issues, whether it's about your relationship, whether it's about, money problems, whether it's about, you just want to learn stuff about life, right? That's a one-stop shop, right? So she's nurturing you, putting you on her team, and in return you get what you need out of it, and she's servicing, right? So that comes down to those designated roles and those designated goals, right? So when you can nurture a team and you can focus on retention, and you can keep clients for the longest amount of time, or you can keep a team for a long amount of time. The most successful businesses have had employees for at least 2 years or more, right? So let's put this in perspective, right? If I have a business and I have people who quit very often, right? I don't really have a lot of like loyal team members, right? That can essentially mean my business, number one, isn't running the way it's supposed to be. I'm not running it the way it's supposed to be ran. The system is not right, or it's just like the I'm not looking for in the right places for the right people, right? So, and that's that ties into everything I just talked about. But when we talk about nurturing your team, right, and you can create a team that is, successful, right, and is loyal to you, right, you then can, you can just move smoothly, right? You can move with, confidence. You can move with, faith and hope, right? And things, you become on offense. You're not on defense, essentially, in your business, right? So nurture your team, right? Understand what your team needs from you, and make sure your team understands what you need from them, and always, always, always address the problem when it surfaces, right? We never want to get into a point where, things have been building up and then you just have a big burst or a big outburst, right? That's where we don't, that's where things, that's where a connection can be broken, right? Another thing I want to talk about is branching out. So branching out is it's essentially the stage, the process of scaling, right? Branching out, networking, right? Finding new ways to win. So when we talk about branching out, you want to find, new people, right? In the game of business, right? I know everybody heard DJ Khaled. He said no new friends. This is not that type of party, right? You always want to meet new people. Because you never know who could be your potential customer, your potential client, right? I actually just was on the phone with, someone I'm hiring on my hiring to be on my team. When I first looked at this lady, I was like, I don't know if she's gonna work, right? But we hopped on the phone, we started talking, and I actually found, like, she's a VA, she does tax professionals, right? Tax preparing. Yeah, she's a CPA as well. Um, and we started talking and we started talking. I started telling her about my business, right? And I'm telling her, like, this is just what I would need from you to start out. And she literally said everything that was on my mind. All the questions that I had written down, she answered them. And she answered them like she told me what I wanted to hear. Like she was telling me, I'm different from other, tax preparers because, I mean, other CPAs, because a lot of CPAs don't like to do taxes, because it's too much or they don't like what they're doing. But she was telling me, she was talking about, focusing on retention. A lot of her clients she's had for a very long time, right? So these are certain little things that just set me off, and I'm like, I'm turned on by it. I'm like, okay, this gonna be, this gonna be what I need, right? So I started to, open my walls a little bit and become a little more accessible to her, right? So you never know, and she even told me herself, she was like, before I got on this call, I was a little, I was a little nervous. I didn't know if it was gonna work out, but I think we're a perfect fit for each other. And I'm like, yeah, man, this is crazy. Like I never would have thought that, you're from and it's crazy because we're from the same place, right? We're both from Colorado. So it's just when you branch out, you find new opportunities, right? So you can create different type of relationships that you probably never thought you would make, right? So branching out is extremely important, right? And you want to find new ways to automate your income. Automated income, aka passive income, is how we become rich. The average millionaire has 7 streams of automated income, passive income, right? So when we talk about finding new ways to create income, right? One thing, I'll give you three things that you can put on automation right now. You can put a Shopify store on automation. Go ahead and get you, someone who does shirts or someone who does anything like that, and you put a design on it. You can hire a designer. You can hire, someone who presses the shirts for you. There's a lot of DTG, a lot of places like that everywhere, right? Like I know in my surrounding area there's a lot of them. So I can just have somebody go print up my shirts. I can hold them at the house. I can, spend 3 days a week, packaging everything, right? And then I can literally put my Shopify store on automation. I can hire someone to run it if I don't want to put it, if because everything doesn't start on automation, right? You have to figure out your system. You have to figure out what works for you, right? So you can put that Shopify store on automation, hire someone to run your ads, and boom, you're making as much money as you can make, right? Say I went and bought 500 shirts, right? Say I only sold 250, right? But or say I only sold one, right? Say I only sold 20, right? It's automated income because I didn't have to do anything other than go get, other than set it up, right? And it can become an automated process, especially if you do things like FBA, or if you do Amazon, if you do things like to where they house the products, right? You don't have to touch it, you don't have to package it. All you have to do is pay for the product. Somebody pays you, and these are things that are easily, you don't even have to have a lot of startup, right? Amazon as FBA, doing Amazon stores is a big thing that you can, a Shopify store or an Amazon store, you can put these on automation, right? Because you can essentially have someone pay, you just make a mock-up, right? All you gotta do is make a mock-up. You can go get one shirt, make a mock-up with 20 different pictures, right? Somebody buys the shirt for $40. You're only paying $15 for the shirt, and you're not touching the shirt, you're not packaging the shirt, you're not housing the shirt, right? So you can pay, essentially a warehouse, right? They're going to, do the printing, they're going to send everything out, and they get a profit. You just made, say, you made 25. Say you got to pay, $5 for the delivery, so you just made $20 easily. You don't have to do nothing. Now imagine if you're doing that and you're making 10 sales a day, right? That's $200 in your pocket a day, right? That can add up to around, what is that? I can add up to around 1,400 a week. 1,400 a week, right? So that's one thing you can put on automation. Another thing you can put on automation is you can go get a vending machine. Vending machines are becoming a huge thing, right? Great places to put them are doctors' offices, laundromats. One thing I did here, looking for new businesses, right? A new 7-Eleven, right? A new convenience store, right? All those, hole in the wall convenience stores, those smoke shops, right? They need ATMs, they need vending machines, right? Malls are a great one if you have certain type of, say if you have like an eyelash vending machine, that's a great one. To you just gotta know the market, you gotta know how to automate it, right? Because say if I go get that eyelash vending machine, right? I go to Sam's Club, I go or wherever I go, and I buy all the lashes. I stock up my thing. I stock up my vending machine. I put it in a mall. I'm gonna be making some pretty good money, right? So there's a lot of things that you can do with a vending machine. There's a lot of things you can do with an ATM. So that's another automated stream of income. You don't have to check on it much. If there is any type of maintenance, you can call out certain type of companies and they'll come out and take care of it for you. So we got Amazon slash Shopify store. We got vending machines or ATMs. The third one that I want to talk about is affiliate marketing. Affiliate marketing you can do with no money. Essentially, if you have a following, any type of following, you can start promoting other people's products, and you get a commission off of it, right? There's high ticket, affiliate marketing opportunities like such as like coaches, right? Myron Golden, I think him himself, he says he pays out anywhere from 120,000 to $60,000 a month to his affiliates, right? That's a percentage of what he's getting a month off of just that stream of income, right? So you have to learn you have to find new ways to automate your income, right? And one thing I want to talk about is loving the progress, not the process, right? Everybody talks about, oh, it's the process, it's the process. Yeah, the process is great, right? But we only look at the process when we're out of the process, right? We're not in the moment talking about, okay, this is the process of this. No, we are in the moment. In the moment, we talk about progress, not process, right? So when I talk about loving the process, we're loving the progress, not the process. It all comes down to just celebrating those small wins, celebrating those small goals, right? So focus on the progress, not the process, right? It can give you a little bit more, you can become a little bit more fulfilled, right? Because like one thing I did was recently I've been trying to lose a lot of weight. So I've been diving into fasting a little bit more. I fast around 2-3 days a week. So finding new ways to do that, right? I weighed myself the other day. I was around 242, right? Weighed myself today. I was around 236. I'm like, okay, I lost 6 pounds. Only 6 pounds. But say I lost 6 pounds a week. That's gonna add up to be around like what, 6 times. That's 24 pounds a month, right? Say I do that. Say I do 24 pounds a week, right? Say I'm going crazy. I lose, and it's very doable, right? Say I lose 24 pounds a week. That can that can push my 180 goal to 2 months in time, right? If I'm losing 25 pounds a week, essentially. Right? So just new ways to automate it and loving the progress, not the process, right? And becoming, an implement driven individual, right? Meaning I'm focused on just getting it done, right? It's more about showing up every day. It's not necessarily about whether you're the best worker or whether you're the best boss. It all starts with showing up and going into every day thinking about the progress, not the process, right? So another thing I want to be talking about is, scaling the discipline, not the knowledge. Right? I'm gonna break down a few more things, right? So scaling the discipline, not the knowledge, meaning I'm using my discipline to scale, not my knowledge, is the only way that you are going to get from A to B or A to Z or from A to B then B to C, right? Discipline. So when you scale your discipline, meaning you elevate your discipline, right? You essentially, use your discipline as leverage, right? Or you use your discipline, or you utilize your discipline instead of your knowledge, because, like I said, knowledge is only powerful when we use it, right? A secret is just a secret until I tell it, and then somebody can use it as leverage, or somebody can use it to do whatever they want to do with it, right? So scaling the discipline, not the knowledge, is very important because you want to focus on disciplining yourself to become that person, right? I can know a lot about how to be a let me just give you a perfect example. Oh, I give you a perfect example. Y'all know anybody in y'all house that knows everything about sports, but they cannot play to save their life. I was one of those people for a while. Like I knew a lot about sports. I used to watch First Take every morning with my brother, and my dad, and they can tell you everybody's number, they can tell you everybody's mama's name, where they went to school, but they don't know how to play. So discipline becomes what you have to rely on, right? Because I can know everything about the NBA, but I'm not disciplined enough to play in the NBA, right? Or I'm not fit enough, whatever that case may be. But all that stuff comes down to discipline. If I'm not fit enough, that's because I haven't disciplined myself enough and I haven't wanted it enough, right? If I'm not in the right position, or if I miss that opportunity to go to tryouts or to go to training camp or summer camp or the summer league, I think that's what it's called. Then I just didn't have the discipline to get myself there, right? I might have the knowledge, I might know how to do everything, but my discipline is what's going to take me from B to C and then C to D, right? So after I start to scale my discipline instead of my knowledge, right? Of course, you want to always dive into personal knowledge, personal education. But when we talk about skills versus knowledge, right? And here's another concept I want to introduce. Utilizing your skills and not your knowledge is the only way that you can progress, right? Because when we grow skills, right, when you are skilled at something, a certain type of skill set is what helps you become an expert, right? And if you're doing anything in life, you want to be an expert, right? LeBron James is an expert in basketball, right? uh Tom Brady was an expert. That's why when he retired, he then went on to commentating, right? Because he's such an expert. So that skill set is worth more than the knowledge, essentially. So you want to utilize your skills more than your knowledge, right? Skilled workers are paid more than knowledge-based workers, right? So if I'm a professor and I'm just teaching, right, I'm probably not going to get as much money as someone who's building houses for people to live in. So just a little correlation between skills and knowledge right there. The skill set is worth more than the knowledge, right? So you got to utilize those skills that you've created or you've obtained over the years, and you have to scale that with discipline, right? So you utilize your skills, you use your discipline to stay in a certain level of it, right? Because when I don't decline, right, but I don't get better, I'm gonna stay stagnant, right? So I want to get to a point where I can scale my discipline and start to use that to progress, right? So once I start to progress, right, then I can look back and look at the process, and I can create a work frame or just a workflow, and that then can turn into a product, essentially. I know I'm kind of talking in circles, right? But just the importance of implementation is very important. It's a necessity to any entrepreneur, period, right? So once you create that community, you nurture that community and you nurture your team, then you can start to branch out. Once you start to branch out, you can automate your income. if you haven't already, right? A lot of businesses are automated already, right? Especially in this day and age, right? So then you want to, just when you're going through this process, you want to love the progress, not the process, right? And you want to scale your discipline, right? So these are just a few, foundational, a foundation. What are we doing on time? Okay, we got to wrap it up. These are just a few foundational, what's the word? I'm a little foggy in the brain today. So these are just some things that you can utilize throughout your week, throughout your month, to where you can start to create different types of opportunities, right? You can start to branch out. You can start to automate your income, automate your process of going through, or of your services with your business, right? Everything comes down to automation. Everything comes down to implementation, right? So that is essentially what I wanted to talk about for this first Motivational Monday. I hope to see some people show up next week. I know this is kind of new, so we're still building up the community. I would love everybody to, share the community. I'm gonna drop the Discord link below. And yeah, so yeah, just take just write these things down. The importance of implementation, the importance of creating the community, the importance of nurturing your team, branching out, automated income. I definitely want everybody to write that down. Loving the progress, not the process, right? And, write down, scaling discipline, not the knowledge, and write down utilizing the skills, not the knowledge, right? And you'll start to create and form your own definitions and your own opinions of these practices, right? But it's proven to work. It's how it's gonna work for you, essentially, right? So that is all. I'm gonna wrap up this motivational Monday. I hope everybody has a good week coming ahead, and yeah, follow me for more. We're gonna keep coming every week, 12 p.m. 12 noon, actually, yeah, 12 p.m. In the afternoon, and we're gonna just talk about motivational Mondays. Hopefully we can get some other entrepreneurs in here, so we can start answering questions, to where we can start asking questions as well. So yeah, Motivational Mondays is your host Kay Capri / Athena Evans, and y'all, I'm gonna see y'all next week. Stay blessed.